talk about a book that everyone could find noteworthy. But the book is about Proshare, but it's also about you. And I knew you were lonely. Not only that, I knew I was there because I could see you working 365 days a year, 24/7. And many times I was wondering how you managed to get by day. But very important was the fact that you have a book, that's an autobiography about the company. So give me an idea of the concept. I'm sure about 2003 or 2002, 2004 was when we met.
The journey started way back. I started actually at Philips Consult. And I think I think anyone here, I want to say this publicly, I owe a big debt of gratitude to Felicia Phillips.
Please let me round of applause, please.
Because Felicia was the one who took the very rough street guy, and he taught me virtually every other thing I needed to be a professional and a decent corporate person. And I cannot emphasize it enough that the aspect of everything I've done from Proshare was always to follow the principles around how work gets done at Philips Consulting. The journey of how Philips Consulting also started, and I've been pinching him so many times that he must put it down because it took so many of us. So I got the training from Felicia Phillips, but especially the late Shubofawale, Francis Osuya, and Tunde Oduwole, who were all my seniors. And there was something very unique about what was it about there. If you thought you were smart, there were more smarter people in that room. If you thought you were intelligent, there were more intelligent people. But there was something that Felicia Phillips emphasized: integrity. If you did not have character, every other thing was wasted. And I struggled with that because I learned from growing up how to survive. So I tried to, how to bend the rules a bit. He did not tolerate that. And I was a little bit rough in terms of how I approach things. But he said, there's something good about you. We can work with you. And so most times, what that book is not really an autobiography. It's to tell you that when you see the finished work, lift the veil to understand the journey. Because if you don't understand the journey, you can never understand the output. And so my story is a story of redemption. Most of you will say, oh, it's brilliant, it's intelligent. No. In Philips Consulting, therefore, he just threw us in the deep end. He could give you a book like Tom Peters' Liberation Management, 900 and something pages. And then you have to read and process it. So those things come naturally to me. Excelling academically was natural. It was the other part that I struggled with. And so once I got a hang of that, I then went on doing some few things. And it just left me free on my own. And then I started being independent. But by the time I got to Fountain Trust, I was already doing environmental scanning. Now, the environmental scanning we did then was basically everything Proshare is doing now and more. But I did it on a daily basis. So what people might think would cost maybe like a week to produce, anybody working with me, you better learn how to produce it in one day. And so the summary of it all is that I worked from a foundation whereby I understood that building good habits is more important than standing out. Because when you build good habits, then you then develop muscle memory. So I will always train my staff and myself to say that the governor of Lagos State should call you today and say, what is the position on this flooding? We will not have to go do research on it. We constantly are thinking about solutions before the problem occurs.
When we met 2004 or thereabout, and I was then at Channels Television.
Yeah.
It was just about the buying recapitalization before it got started. And And I was wondering how crazy you were and how distant the idea of a financial data platform would be when you've got the NGX or the NSE, as it were at that time, sitting on the mountain of it all. Today, we're sitting in a room in which you have a market that is more deeper, broader, depth, height, width, and breadth. But you were thinking of something that would be a financial news platform. And I was wondering, well, maybe because you were coming from outside the country, you think you could just get it done. But there, on that wall over there, and I'm sure most of us in the audience can see the footprints from the milestones from 2006 to the present. And it tells me how much had happened. Maybe you haven't really sat down to look at it and take it all in.
Okay, I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah.
There's a part of that story. So Proshare started in 2006, but there was a part before that. There was my meeting of minds. We started at Financial Standard. And then I met Ayarolo. And I felt Ayarolo's simplicity should moderate my technical skills. And we did a number of work, myself and Ayarolo, what we call financial education, because we felt that we were mixing up motivational speaking with common sense. And so he was closer to the church group then, but I thought that was the platform to sell. So I could scale from the church group and put the message out rather than to sit down and be doing the same work. I then studied also the models from companies like my friend Doyin Salami. I studied what happened with my old director, Dr. Teriba. I sat down with Bismarck. So I studied everybody's models all across, and I've seen where the gap was. But the fundamental thing was that all of us were operating without a central database. And so if today you ask which were the banks operating in Nigeria in 2002, I'm not sure anybody can pull out that data right now. So you find yourself working in a market that has no historical context to make decisions. So we decided then to do that. So we created something called MoneyWise. And if Mr. Michael Awoyemi was here, he would testify to that, because I started and I did something there. I didn't have money to set up a newspaper. So I went and took 8 pages inside the Sun newspaper. But then I took editorial control of those 8 pages. Now I had journalists working with us, and that was the first conflict. The way journalists operate is that it's like a manufacturing plant. You just put the news, there's no thought to it. So I said, what does the news mean? And so if you look around Nigerian newspapers today, you could buy one, you don't have to buy all. There's almost like a press release. So where's the financial information? And then there was no accountability from companies who operated. And so when we did the consolidation, by the way, I had gone for 1 year in the United Kingdom, where I was broadcasting on Ben TV as well. So once I walked in the city of London, the bug about excellence could not be reversed anymore. And I knew we had to do. So what we did was to get some boys from the University of Lagos and bring them in, and they were punching on Excel every company's annual report, one by one, in Excel. A very uninteresting, unimaginative task. The data had errors, but that was the work. So the journey was that we were clear that we were going to run Proshare to the extent that Bloomberg and Reuters would have to find a way to operate with us here, because we had seen then that the way the narrative about Nigerians needed to be controlled by Nigerians. And so it's only the negative things about our markets, our business and economy that we get from those organizations. So the whole goal was that we were going to benchmark, not with any Nigerian enterprise, but with an enterprise outside Nigeria, so that when we get to talk, we will then talk on equal level.